Tweety flies into the workroom ahead of the other queens and cheers loudly before perching on one of the workstations. Raven trails slightly behind the rest of the group, and the air between her, Esmeralda, and Helga is less warm than usual.
I'm walking into the workroom today, and Raven won't even make eye contact with me. Something's been up with her since Untucked, but I can't figure out what I did wrong if she won't talk to me or Esmeralda.
Esmeralda praises Tweety for winning last week's challenge and congratulates Rebecca for winning the lip sync. Both queens thank Esmeralda, and Rebecca opens her mouth to say something before she is cut off by Betty, who asks Raven if she's feeling any better after storming out of Untucked last week. Raven replies that she didn't storm off, she just needed some space to think, and she doesn't owe Betty or anyone else all of her time.
Oh, I've gotten under this bitch's skin, and I'm living for it because I barely had to do anything. I don't know if she's pissed at me, pissed at Esmeralda, or pissed at herself. And frankly, I don't care, because it's hilarious to watch.
I'm not mad at anyone, and I intend to make that clear to Helga and Esmeralda when I can talk to them alone. I just know that I could have done better last week had I handled the challenge differently, but I refuse to give Betty the satisfaction of making me crack.
Betty chides Raven for a bit longer before she is interrupted by Esmeralda, who comments that maybe if Betty focused on herself this much in this competition, then she'd actually have a chance of getting the win that she so clearly thinks she deserves. Betty rolls her eyes, responding that Esmeralda should focus on getting a spot in the top before daring to speak to her.
I don't know what Raven's issue is, but no one deserves to be badgered by Betty when they just want to be left alone, and I refuse to sit by and watch it happen.
The dispute between the two queens starts to grow more tense, but a siren sounds before it can get overly heated, and Pegasus's face appears on the workroom monitor.
My queens, this week, in the tradition of Toon World is burning, the library is open, and I just know that you shady bitches are going to let each other have it. While I would love to be there myself, I have decided to send in one of the shadiest queens I know to host this week's mini challenge and tell you all about the main challenge. Tata ladies, see you on the main stage.
Hello. Ladies, over these past few weeks, the judges have seen you grow as sisters as well as show off your shady sides. The library is now open, and I want to see just how acid-tongued you all can really be.
Oh, I've been waiting for the reading challenge. Someone may have spent most of his nights at the hotel writing nasty things about the rest of the cast. It's me. I am that queen.
Betty, you're up first.
I can never remember the name of the queen across from me. Coraline? No? Oh, I got it. Creepy Susie? No. Damn it. Pass. Helga, you really do put the you in uniqueness. But I'm still waiting to see some of that charisma, nerve, and talent. And I think the judges are too. Esmeralda, after watching your performance in the competition so far, I really wish Frollo hadn't missed you with that sword.
Oh, this bitch really wants to come at me that way. Alright, Betty, I can play that game. Betty, considering that your whole career since the 90s has been doing everything that Jessica Rabbit has done, but shit, I have to ask, will you be the next host of Down Under? Rebecca, you look like a failed Nina West impersonator. Tweety Bird is here, everyone. And, oh Tweety, why are you making that face? Wait, your face just does that a bit? Girl, has anyone ever told you that there is such a thing as too much Botox?
Botox. That bitch wishes that I had Botox. This face is all natural, and I know the meaning of good skincare. Helga, it's true that all drag is art, but after seeing your art, I think I understand why Van Gogh killed himself. Quack Waffle, you're a shining example of what happens when someone leaves their overinflated ego in the tanning bed for too long. Betty, I admire you. You're an icon and an enigma. It's like a Funko Pop had a deformed baby with Gary Busey.
Damn, Tweety just let most of us have it. I'm glad he didn't direct any of that fire my way.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rebecca Hawkins is here. Rebecca's a baby queen, and God, that just makes me even more upset about what happened to Roe v. Wade. Raven, after meeting you, I understand why Beast Boy chose Terra instead. My Valentine, I was a little gagged to find out that you were judging this season instead of competing on it. I thought that you'd want the chance to fight for a crown on a season that wasn't rigged for Princess Allura to save her failing career.
Quackwaffle's coming for my and for Toon Madness. Is he trying to get Pegasus sued? I live.
Quackwavel, talent and star quality for days with the personality of a dump truck. You really are the Azalea Banks of drag. Helga, your parents once told you that you were an ugly duckling who would blossom into a beautiful swan. Well, they lied, bitch. Tweety, my friend, the best way to describe your drag is to compare it to going into an expensive wine store and asking for the cheapest possible bottle.
Rebecca's a shady queen, and she's never held back on that, but it's refreshing to see her cut loose without Five screaming in her face.
My, did you know that Quackwavel once told me he has a horrible fear of bees? But after listening to him talk, it's clear that he finds the whole alphabet terrifying. Esmeralda, I think that it's a gutsy move to paint for the back row when you can't even fill a venue that has a maximum capacity of 30 people. I respect it. Betty, you should get your pH levels checked out after you're eliminated this week. Your clam fucking stinks.
Helga really gagged Esmeralda with that read, and the same with Betty. I've never been the shadiest queen, but I think I can give these other girls a run for their money. Helga, your drag is what happens when someone hits the randomize option in a Sims character creator. Quackwavel, since you're a circus queen, I have to ask, do you look like that because of a knife-throwing accident? Or is that really just how you paint? Betty, roses are red, violets are blue. Some bitches are only pretty on the outside. And yes, I'm talking about you.
Well, at least she agrees that I'm pretty. That's more than I can say for her.
Wow. We put in the contract that every queen had to be lethal with their shade, and you all rose to the challenge. However, only one of you can win the mini challenge. The queen who had the nastiest shade was Quackwavel.
All of you at home who thought I was just some surface-level shade type of drag queen just got put on notice. I keep the girls in Poldia in check with my sharp tongue, and I showed every single girl in this workroom just what that means, my included.
Now, ladies, tonight you will bring a time-honored cartoon drag race challenge to Toon World. You'll all be playing the Snatch game. And on the runway, category is Wedding Party Eleganza. Now remember, making Pegasus laugh is the secret to success. I can't wait to see you all in the challenge.
Betty and Quackwavel are preparing their looks for the Snatch game, and Betty asks Quackwavel how he's feeling going into the challenge, noting that he's been quieter than usual this morning. Quackwavel replies that he is a bit nervous. Snatch game is a challenge that he was expecting because it comes every season, but he's never done a celebrity impersonation as part of his act before. Picking up a microphone from his workstation, Betty asks who he intends to impersonate, and Quackwavel replies that he's going to be one of his favorite rappers, Cardi B.
It's the challenge that everyone knows is coming. The Snatch game is the make-or-break point for countless queens across the cartoon drag race franchises, and you can bet your ass that it won't break me. I can make Cardi funny, and I have her voice down. I just need to find a way to banter with Pegasus and the guests.
Seeking to change the subject, Quackwavel takes his microphone back from Betty and asks who she intends to do for the Snatch game, pointing to a large pile of jewelry studded in diamonds on her workstation. Betty picks up a diamond brooch and proudly declares, "Big girls need big diamonds," which elicits a cheer from Quackwavel as he asks if she's doing Elizabeth Taylor. She nods, and Quackwavel comments that it's a fantastic character choice for Betty and will really make her stand out to the judges, especially since Pegasus lives for old Hollywood starlets.
Choosing to do Elizabeth Taylor for Snatch Game was an easy choice. I understand the references. I can sound like her, and I know how to make her funny. I'm manifesting a win for myself this week. Oh, and maybe Esmeralda will land in the bottom too, just to make me laugh.
Betty and Quackwavel continue to work alongside one another as they prepare their looks. They exchange a couple of jokes until Betty asks Quackwavel about the drag scene back in Paldia, stating that he doesn't talk much about his relationship with the queens at home. Quackwavel replies that he is close to several Paldian queens, like Muscarida, Vivian, and Vespican. But he isn't trying to think about home right now, because he wants to be totally focused on the competition. Betty says that she respects his decision, but also knows that Quackwavel is a shady bitch, so he has to have at least one rival at home, and she wants details.
Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a hateful bitch to every drag queen that I meet, just to the absolute monsters in the workroom. Betty's the only queen here that I can really stand, so I'll give her a bit of the tea.
Quaquaval laughs and says that he tries to keep things civil with the queens in Paldir, but he does have beef with one queen in particular, and he thinks that she is the reason he was never cast on Cartoon Drag Race before. Intrigued, Betty asks who the queen is, and Quaquaval replies that he has had a long-standing feud with the so-called Abby Lee Miller of Cartoon Drag, Tsarina.
Comparing Tsarina to Abby is actually quite accurate. They're both spoiled, cold-hearted, bottom-feeding ex-cons who make their living off of people who are far more talented and capable than them. That's spicy enough to get the Twitter gays talking?
Betty, pushing further, asks more about their feud and what incited it. Quaquaval replies that the two started drag around the same time and were friends at one point. But once Quaquaval became more popular than her in their local scene, she suddenly blocked him and wouldn't respond to his messages. He adds that it wasn't a big loss though, because he watched her season, and who would want to be friends with a flop like that? Betty asks a few more questions but quickly realizes that Quaquaval is over the conversation, so she goes back to touching up her outfit.
It was nice to see a bit of the Queen beneath all of his shade and ego, and it was even more fascinating to learn that Quaquaval actually has friends back home. After hearing his impression of Cardi B, I think that he'll be seeing them a lot sooner than he thinks.
Tweety and Rebecca work alongside one another, with Tweety commenting that his drag might be the cheapest bottle of wine, but she still couldn't afford him, which makes Rebecca laugh. Watching as Rebecca pulls a spiky yellow and purple wig out of one of her suitcases, Tweety comments that he knows who she's doing for Snatch Game, and asks Rebecca if she really misses her boyfriend so much that she decided to impersonate him.
Tweety caught me. My Snatch Game character is my beau, Yugi Muto. And while it may not be the most conventional choice, I know what I am doing.
Tweety comments that picking Yugi is a smart choice because both Pegasus and Rebecca know him well, and Rebecca admits that was why she decided to play him for the Snatch Game. She knows the history between Yugi and Pegasus, so using that knowledge to make him laugh should be easy. Tweety nods, stating that it would be easy if Rebecca were actually funny. Laughing, Rebecca tells Tweety that she just got rid of 5 and doesn't need another bitch coming for her in this competition.
It's nice to see Rebecca enjoying the competition again. She's been on edge the past few weeks, constantly fighting with number 5, so getting to relax and banter with her is a lot of fun. The only thing that will be even more fun will be nabbing my second challenge win tonight.
Rebecca turns the question on Tweety and asks who he intends to impersonate for the Snatch Game. Tweety happily replies that he will be performing as a fellow underrated Looney Tunes icon and his best friend, Sylvester the Cat. Rebecca asks to hear some of his impression and Tweety gladly obliges, adopting a pronounced lisp and slightly raising his pitch.
I knew that Tweety would nail whoever he impersonated for this challenge. I think we both have a chance at landing in the top tonight, and I'm hoping that my runway will cinch me in for the win. Last week was a one-time slip-up, and I intend to make that clear to everyone, especially the judges.
Things are tense between Esmeralda, Raven, and Helga as the trio gathers around their workstation, none of them speaking until Helga claps her hands to get the other two queens' attention. Helga turns to Raven and asks if she will say what's on her mind now that Betty isn't around so they can put whatever this is behind them and focus on the challenge. Raven nods, apologizing to the other two queens, and adding that she is not mad at either of them, and was just in her feelings during the last Untucked, so she stormed off before Betty could provoke her. Esmeralda asks what upset her, and Raven replies that she thinks she would have been in the top last challenge if she didn't help Esmeralda. She was unhappy with what she presented to the judges, especially given that she's a designer. Esmeralda apologizes, and Raven replies that she doesn't need to because she chose to help Esmeralda. Esmeralda didn't force her to help.
Normally, I would read a queen for complaining about being safe, but Raven's allowed to feel what she feels, and she did save my ass last week. I can understand being frustrated with what you presented to the judges. Hopefully this week, we can both change that.
Helga asks Raven if they're all good, and Raven nods before pointing at Helga's workstation and asking who she'll be playing for the Snatch Game.
She's got the biggest lip prosthetics I've ever seen, and some massive breast pads that are bigger than my head are sitting right next to them. I want to know who Helga intends to do for the Snatch Game, but I'm also kind of scared to find out.
Helga laughs before replying in a clear, British accent that she intends to portray one half of the Cock Destroyers Sophie Anderson. Esmeralda chuckles, asking Helga if the meme that shot the adult film star duo into popularity is what made her decide to play Anderson for the Snatch game. Helga shakes her head, commenting that Anderson was a lot more than just one meme, and she hopes to use the Snatch game as a means to showcase that.
Sophie Anderson was an integral part of the British LGBTQ+ scene and the queer community as a whole before her death. She advocated for sexual health and positivity and sponsored numerous LGBTQ+ foundations across England. She was an icon, and I hope to use my Snatch game to pay tribute to such an important yet overlooked part of modern queer history.
Esmeralda smiles, praising Helga for the thought that she puts into her drag. She adds that she respects Helga for understanding the power of having a platform. Helga thanks her before asking who Esmeralda intends to portray, and Esmeralda replies that she was torn on who she should imitate, especially after landing in the bottom for her impersonations during the first week. It took her a while to decide, but she shares that she eventually settled on Demi Moore, which causes Helga and Raven to glance at one another. Raven asks if Esmeralda is sure that she can make Moore funny. Esmeralda insists that Moore is naturally funny, stating that they are close friends and she should be able to banter with Pegasus pretty easily. She gives the other two queens a sample of her impersonation.
So, Esmeralda's impression isn't bad. The voice is there, but it's just not funny. I'm hoping that she can turn it around before the challenge begins, but there isn't anything I can do to help her this week.
Esmeralda, sensing the other two queens' apprehension, asks Raven who she intends to portray. Raven replies that she has been nervous about this challenge, but will be playing Amy Lee, one of her favorite musicians and a big inspiration for her drag. Esmeralda admits that the choice fits her brand, but asks if Raven thinks that Pegasus will know the character or the references. Raven states that she intends to put her own spin on Lee and use her knowledge of what amuses Pegasus to find some common ground with the character. The three queens wish each other luck as they all begin putting the final touches on their looks. Betty Boop will be playing Elizabeth Taylor. Esmeralda will be playing Demi Moore. Rebecca Hawkins will be playing Yugi Muto. Helga Pataki will be playing Sophie Anderson. Raven will be playing Amy Lee. Quackwaval will be playing Cardi B. Tweety Bird will be playing Sylvester the Cat. Helga Pataki and Betty Boop slayed the challenge.
How am I feeling? Darling, I'm feeling fantastic right now. I brought Liz Taylor back from the dead tonight, and Pegasus was hanging on my every word. Plus, I got to watch Esmeralda miss nearly all of the softball questions that they lobbed at her for 2 hours, which was just delicious.
I think tonight might be one of the highlights of my whole drag career. I got to pay tribute to an icon, I cracked Pegasus and the guest judges, and I made a few of the other queens break character. I was loud, I was outrageous, I was raunchy, and I know I slayed this challenge.
Raven, Rebecca Hawkins, and Tweety Bird had a great performance.
My Amy Lee portrayal actually went over better than I expected with Pegasus. I didn't get as many laughs as I wanted, but I could see that my jokes still landed. I didn't bring anyone to life, but I don't think I'm going under either. Yeah, I had to cut that joke from my set.
If it wasn't for the raging tension headache that Quackwaval's Cardi B impersonation gave me, I would be feeling great. I was able to establish a rapport with Pegasus really quickly, and I feel like he and I had a really strong back and forth that none of the other queens had. With my runway, I think this could be my challenge to win.
Quackwaval and Esmeralda had a good performance.
Hi, Cardi B. I played you on Cartoon Drag Race Toon World during the Snatch game, and I want to hashtag apologize. Or is it pegpologize? Whatever. I'm sorry for not serving Cardi B realness. P.S. I'm a huge fan.
I just couldn't establish good banter with Pegasus, and looking back, I missed a couple of setups for easy jokes. I'm mad at myself. I know I can do better than this, but I also know that I'm running out of chances to prove it.
Rebecca Hawkins and Quackwaval had a great runway.
This is actually one of my favorite outfits that I brought to this competition, so I'm glad that I get the opportunity to show it off. I'm wearing a traditional Japanese wedding kimono that I made with my drag family. Me, Yugi, Joey, and the others spent 3 weeks sewing together the pieces of the kimono, making sure that the sash was the proper length, and dyeing the fabric. It's one of the most beautiful pieces that I've ever worn, and I'm beyond proud of it.
I am strutting down this runway as the most glamorous mother of a bride that you've ever seen. I get to the center of the runway, and bam, what's under my coat? Mama's wearing white and she looks better than the bride. This is really her special day anyway. I'm camping up my runway performance and making sure that the judges take in each and every detail on this beautiful gown.
Helga Pataki, Betty Boop, Tweety Bird, Raven, and Esmeralda had a good runway.
Everyone else can show up to the wedding in a pretty dress or all painted up like a bride, but when I saw this prompt, I knew that I had to come as the wedding cake. I'm red velvet, and I'm covered in whipped cream and plastic cherries. I know that Pegasus wants a slice of this camp delight.
I'm walking down the runway in this gorgeous mermaid-style wedding gown that I bought from Kleinfeld and had modified to fit my stunning figure. I've got a keyhole back, a delicate veil, gorgeous lace, and jewels all over my bodice. You know that I'm marrying a sugar daddy and taking all his money when he dies 2 days after the wedding.
I've painted my whole body white, blew out my feathers, and my whole outfit is constructed out of ribbon and prayers. The look may be a little simple, but if you release this dove on your wedding day, then your marriage will be sure to last for at least 5 years.
Welcome to the main stage of Cartoon Drag Race Toon World Season 1. Allow me to introduce our supreme panel of judges. First, she's our resident judge, whose eyebrows are still smoking from the reading challenge shade. It's my Valentine. Next, we have our special guest judge. She's a glamour diva, a model, a movie star, and an all-around icon. She's the reptilian beauty herself. She's Misty Treadwell. This week, we asked our queens to show off their best celebrity impersonations in the Snatch Game. And tonight on the runway, category is Wedding Party Eleganza. Misty, are you disappointed that none of the queens impersonated you?
After listening to those impersonations, definitely not.
Oop. Season 2 girls, you know what to do. Esmeralda, Rebecca Hawkins, Helga Pataki, Quackwaddle, and Betty Boop. You represent the tops and bottoms of this week. Tweety Bird and Raven, you are safe and may go and tuck backstage.
I know that I'm in the top, and it feels wonderful after letting myself fall into the bottom last week. I showed up for one of the most difficult challenges on Drag Race, and I showed the hell out.
Now it's time for critiques. Betty Boop, you are up first. Care to begin?
Betty, your Elizabeth Taylor impersonation was immaculate. You were funny but also created an aura of glamour and sophistication that was pivotal to making your jokes land. You felt unattainable, you looked beautiful, and you looked stunning on the runway tonight as well. Splendid work.
You were very easy to establish a good back and forth with. Your replies were witty, and you were able to riff off of the other queens perfectly. I was delighted when I saw you were playing Elizabeth, and I think this role is a real feather in your cap, or diamond in your brooch. What I will comment on is your runway, which, while stunning, is still just a very pretty dress. Betty, I want more out of your runways than just a pretty dress. I could walk down Toon World Boulevard and buy 100 pretty dresses. You are barely padded, and this is probably the lightest that we've seen your makeup all season. I'm greedy, Betty. I want more. Give me more.
While the dress is a little simple, I do want to give you praise for all of the detailing and clear modifications that you made to the garment. Your body looks sickening, the keyhole in the back is seductive, and the birdcage veil gives you a very timeless quality. Coupled with your performance in the Snatch Game, I think you did really well tonight.
Quackwaddle, please step forward.
Quackwaddle, your Cardi B impersonation did not land. You had her voice and the mannerisms down, but none of your jokes were particularly well timed. I also understand that you were playing a loud character, but it felt like you tried to talk over your fellow queens once or twice.
From the moment we started, I could see that you were nervous, which is not something that I've grown to expect from you. When you realized that your first few jokes didn't land, it felt like you made the decision to turn the cardi up to 11, and it harmed your performance. What I will praise you for is your runway. I knew the character that you were playing from the moment you walked out, and it was very memorable.
I'm also going to give you praise for this runway. You had a strong character and it helped make your overall look stand out more compared to the other queens. This gown is gorgeous. It fits your body perfectly. If you showed up to my wedding in it, I'd throw you out.
All right, Rebecca Hawkins, you are up next.
Rebecca, tonight was a fantastic rebound for you after the past 2 weeks. I thought that your performance as Yugi in the Snatch game was spot on. You nailed his mannerisms and personality while still keeping things funny. And what I really want to highlight is this runway. It's beautiful, gorgeously crafted. And really, I think this is the best that you've looked in this entire competition.
Your portrayal of Yugi Boy was so realistic, Rebecca. I almost sent you to the Shadow Realm. Just kidding. You had a strong grasp on your character. You were able to take any joke that I threw at you and run with it. You had a smart idea for this challenge and executed it very well. Fantastic job.
I think your runway tonight is my favorite out of everyone's. I love the details, and I can see that you spent a lot of time making sure that every bit of this kimono was complete. Also, can we talk about your mug? I can tell that you beat your face for this runway and that you understand what works with your makeup. Wonderful job.
Helga Pataki, please step to the front.
Helga, I lived for you in the challenge. You took on a character that I think a lot of queens would have only had one joke for and made her hilarious. You had Sophie Anderson's voice, you had her hair, you had the lips, you had the boobs, you were funny, you were filthy, and you really outdid yourself tonight.
I haven't laughed that hard in a while. Helga, you had a vision for your character and executed it flawlessly. Everything about your performance was well thought out. As for this runway, I appreciate a queen who can take a prompt and flip it on its head. It shows me that you're considering every assignment and can think out of the box. I honestly don't think I will ever meet another queen like you. Fabulous work.
Although I love this runway, I do think that you would have benefited from one extra fitting because it's clear that a few parts don't fit you quite right. I wish you had a few more cherries on your arms, and I think that the whole thing could just be a little bigger. It's a good garment, but this cake needed a little more time in the oven.
Last up, Esmeralda, please step forward.
Esmeralda, it felt like you froze when the challenge began. I don't think Demi Moore was a strong character choice. You had the mannerisms, the hair, the voice, and the resemblance down pat, but you didn't know how to make her funny. As for this runway, it's a nice garment, but it looks like something you would wear as a dance costume versus something that you would see at a wedding.
After the bits you planned out didn't work, it seemed like you didn't know what to do with your character. You tried to get the ball rolling again, but in improv, once that ball stops, it's very hard to get it moving. Unfortunately, it just felt like you couldn't find your footing. I think your Demi Moore was forgettable, which is not good this far into the competition.
I think you have a very nice look tonight, but compared to your sisters on the runway, nice doesn't hold up. My biggest note would be that you aren't wearing a lot of jewelry. One of my biggest drag pet peeves is a queen who doesn't wear earrings with a wig that sleek. Remember, a look is in its details, and it's important to accessorize.
My queens, after deliberating amongst ourselves and sharing our thoughts with you, here are your placements for the week. Rebecca Hawkins, tonight it wasn't just time to duel. It was time to slay. You are safe and may go untucked backstage.
I'm glad to be back in the top this week, but I really thought that the win was mine. I feel like I'm so close every time, but I guess that means I need to try even harder next week. The competition isn't going to get any easier.
Betty Boop, your Elizabeth Taylor redefined old Hollywood glamour. You are safe and may go untucked backstage.
Normally, I'd be seething over the fact that I was snubbed from another win, but Esmeralda being in the bottom is relaxing me. Now I just need a glass of white wine, and for Quackquavel to send her ass back to Notre Dame. And then all will be right in the world.
Helga Pataki, this week you're a fucking challenge destroyer. Congratulations. You are the winner of this week's challenge.
Knowing that I got to pay tribute to an icon and it was well received already feels great, but knowing that I am the first queen in this competition to get to wins is fantastic. I'm not going anywhere, and it's starting to feel like the crown might be mine for the taking.
Quackwaffle, after watching your performance as Cardi B, the only question I have for you is, what was the reason, bitch? What was the reason? I'm sorry, my dear, but you are up for elimination. Esmeralda, all I can say after your Demi Moore performance is, Molly, you in danger, girl. I'm sorry, my dear, but you are also up for elimination.
I'm not worried at all. I can sing the song in Spanish and English, and I listen to it every day. Gloria Groove is a drag icon, and I intend to do her justice with my performance.
Oh, you've got me lip-syncing to this song? But producers really wanted to give everyone a show, huh? Well, buckle up, queens, because I perform this song 6 nights a week back home, and I am not sweating this.
The lip sync song is from Mellow by Gloria Groove. Esmeralda slayed the lip sync and Quackwaffle had a great lip sync.
Ladies, I have made my decision. Quackwaffle, Shantae, you stay. You may go untucked backstage. Esmeralda, you are a star. Your fighting spirit and desire to stand up for what is right in the world should be celebrated and emulated by everyone who watches this show. Now, my dear, sashay away.
You know what they say, only RuPaul can really judge me.
This is Untucked.
The queens congratulate Helga for winning the challenge and Quackwaffle for winning the lip sync, and both queens thank the group. Betty and Quackwaffle stand together and clink their cocktails, with Betty toasting to Esmeralda before thanking Quackwaffle for finally sending her home. Quackwaffle replies that it was his pleasure, considering that she'd been coasting for the entire season. Curious, Quackwaffle asks Betty why she had such a problem with Esmeralda. She shrugs, stating that she's made it clear from the get-go that the two have never liked one another and she doesn't respect Esmeralda's drag. There wasn't one inciting incident. The two just never got along, and Betty is at peace with that. Quackwaffle admits that he can relate, and the two continue to chat and finish their cocktails. Meanwhile, Raven congratulates Helga for receiving her second challenge win. Helga thanks Raven, adding that it's hard to enjoy the win when they've just lost such a dear friend. Raven agrees, and is about to continue when the pair is approached by Rebecca and Tweety, who compliment Helga for her performance. Raven comments that Rebecca's runway is stunning, and then glances at Tweety, stating that she wishes she could say the same about his look tonight, which causes everyone to laugh, and the four queens continue to bond as they sip their cocktails.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Now remember, be proud, feel free, and live your life, always.